So this time around I want to write a simple helper function that just takes a plain text version of a token and validates it. Make sure that a user exists, make sure that the token exists, make sure that the token hasn't expired. And this isn't necessarily used as part of authentication, although it may be, but it will be useful for us as time goes on. It's a simple method attached to the token type that actually validates that token and makes sure it's okay. Now, last time around I said we might have to go and modify a user function, one of the functions that gets a user from the database, and add some additional code to that. But as I was thinking this through, I think I was wrong. I think we can keep this dead simple, which is always a good thing. So at the bottom of this file, models.go, let's just create a new function with the receiver of t pointer to token, and we'll just call it ValidToken. And it takes one argument, which I'll call plain text, because it's the plain text version of the token. So that's a string. And this is going to return a Boolean, yes if it's true if the token is valid, and false if it's not, and potentially an error as well. Okay? So we have our plain text version of the token, and we need to go get the token from the database. So let's do that. Token, an error, and those are populated when we call the function we've already written, t.getByToken. And we hand it plain text. And we check for an error. If error is not equal to nil, then I'll generate an error and return a false. So return false, and the errors.new, and then give it a valid error string. No matching token found. You sent me a token that I can't find. And we're done. We don't go any further. But if we get past that, let's make sure the user exists. Now I don't actually care about the user variable that this function I'm about to call returns, so I'll use the blank identifier, the underscore, but I will check for an error when I call t.getUserForToken, right there. And again, hand it, I have to dereference it, but hand it token. The variable I got back on line 442, which is a pointer to a token, but getUserForToken doesn't want a pointer, it wants a token variable, so we just dereference it. And again, we check for an error, so I'll just copy all of this and change the message. Paste. And the message is simply no matching user found. You may have a token, it might be valid, but I can't find a user that it goes with, so we don't go any further. Now, the last thing I need to check, I have a user, I have a token, let's make sure the token hasn't expired. If token.expiry.before time.now, the current date and time, if the expiry date for the token I have in the database is in the past, then this is an expired token. So I just return false and errors.new expired token. But if those checks all pass, I return true and nil. This is a valid token. Now that's a really useful function to attach to the type token. All right, with all of that, it's time to go try things out. Now, we have written an awful lot of database functions over the last few lectures, and there are undoubtedly multiple errors somewhere in these functions. And that's no problem. When we build test handlers just to try things out, we'll find them and we'll fix them. And then we'll move on to actually writing the necessary handlers to complete authentication. So we can go back to our Vue front end and try authenticating. All right, let's move on.